And on today's show, making a commitment to action. Part 3 of this week's interview with nationally recognized industry consultant, platform speaker, and author of Living a Life of Significance, Joe Jordan. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician and Innsmark. Let's get down to business. We're with Joe Jordan again, and we're talking about his book, 50,000 Sales in 4 different languages, and I also have it not only in his book, Living a Life of Significance, but we also have the audio version for you too. And again, you can order that right off his website, right at the bottom of the lower third. Joe, of course, I'm still recovering from the last 2 segments. You know,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. But you know, you say this, and then today's show is going to be tough because you're going to ask for a commitment to action.
Right.
And this is the hardest thing. Hey, we talk about it in the eutherical. Now we're going to put boots on the ground.
Right.
Talk a little bit about what you see as our commitment to action and how reps can start moving this way.
Steve, you're right. I mean, your audience is people who are out there and they have to make a living. And it's good that they feel good about what they do, but now what do they do with it? Once they've created a culture that's supportive and they feel better about what they do, they have to understand that positive thoughts don't always lead to positive action, but positive action always leads to positive thoughts. You have to make a commitment to your purpose. And so when I'm out in the field, anywhere in the world, okay, and this is what I'll tell you guys, okay, when I'm out there, I ask them, what's the one thing that you'd rather not do in this business that you have to do, that you'd like to avoid? To a person, they all say prospecting. They hate it. They have to face rejection. It's the scary part. You know, let's be real, Steve, for people who've never done it, they have no idea how much courage it takes. So if that's the biggest issue that you have to deal with, then let me make a suggestion to you. Here's the action step. Set up a daily contact commitment. A daily contact commitment. That means the day doesn't go by that you don't ask X number of people a day to see you. That can be a phone call, that can be doing a seminar, that can be personal contact, but your job is that you know you have X number of people that you have to be in touch with. If you're new in the business, folks, I hate to tell you, it can't be less than 10. That's your job. You got to ask 10. If you're more experienced in the business, it can be less. This sounds easy, but it's not. It's simple, but it's hard. And let me tell you, when I was selling, Steve, my number was 7. And so I'd be there at 6 in the morning, and some guy's lifting weights, and I asked him, he said, no, 1 down, 6 to go. How many can I get rid of before 10 o'clock, okay? But let me tell you what's different about this, Steve, okay? You're managing to effort and not results. You're managing to effort and not results. See, you don't control your results. You don't control whether someone sees you, whether someone buys from you. You don't control interest rates, the stock markets, or the Straits of Hormuz, man. The only thing that you control is your effort. And Gandhi said that true satisfaction doesn't come in the accomplishment, it comes in the effort. Total effort is total victory. So that's something that's really important that you need to understand. And the other part of that, which is also important, is the fact that when I was asking 7, if I had 7 no's, I had a successful day because I faced my fears. We don't congratulate ourselves enough for giving ourselves credit for the difficult things that we have to do. Because you know, if you are consistently asking 7 or 10 people a day, you're going to wind up with a lot more appointments. And what happens is when we're always managing to the end results, the results will come from the effort that you put into it. And so that's something that I think, you know, really has to, it's really the DNA of productivity. Remember I talked about that in the first interlude that we talked about, is how do you increase per rep? It's all a function of how many people you see. And how many people you see is dictated by whether or not you want to expose yourself to the idea of having someone reject you. Here's the thing. The better you feel, that's why I said it was 2 parts. I'm inspired because I focus on the impact I have with others. And then what happens is I feel better, and then I prospect. The more I prospect, the better I feel. The better I feel, the more I prospect. And I don't think this is just something you do. I think it's a reaffirmation of faith. Faith that you do something worthwhile. And St. Augustine said that faith is believing in what you can't see. And when you have faith, you can begin to see what you believe. Steve, I'm really not trying to get religious, okay? But I do think there's a spiritual side to this business. I think the boost that we go beyond ourselves and know that we do something significant and worthwhile gives us the ability to do the things that we normally don't want to do. And Nelson Mandela said that only inspiration can raise people beyond what they think they're capable of. And so that's really a lot of the focus that I'm trying to do. Because this business is simple, Steve, okay? Because folks, guess what? There's 3 types of people out there. People who listen to your advice, people who don't listen to your advice, and people who never heard your advice. Your job is to keep the people who listen to your advice, get rid of the people who don't listen to your advice, talk to the people who haven't heard your advice to turn them into people who do listen to your advice. One of the big things about prospecting, you're either prospecting or you're not. It's also the great equalizer, Steve, because you can have a CLU, have all of the knowledge in the world, and if you stop prospecting, you start to become equal with someone new in the business. It's the essence and the DNA of the business, and it's knowing that you do something significant and worthwhile. It begins to change the character of how we're perceived in the outside world, and it's especially at a time when we have never been more needed and less trusted. At the end of the day, what this is about from a personal behavioral point of view is overcoming your fears. Knowing that you don't always have to be scared or concerned because you know that if you consistently ask X number of people a day, that you will be able to meet your goals.
Well, that sounds like we're going old school, Joe.
It's certainly old school, but you know what? Vince Lombardi used to show up at camp every day and say, gentlemen, this is a football. For whatever everyone is running around with, the fact of the matter, and in fact, there's a great book out there. It's Nick Murray's book, The Game of Numbers. For those of you who know Nick Murray, Nick probably deals with the top professionals in our business, and he never wrote a book on prospecting. You know why? He said, well, these guys are successful. They've got it locked. You know what he found out? They stopped. It's really getting back to the core issues. The core issues is how you feel about yourself, which will change the way people view us, but more importantly, be more productive for you.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on the show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Just go out to our site, downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. Want to email me? steve@downtobusiness.tv. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor. I'm Steve Savant. I'll see you tomorrow.